Now, Marika, usually there's that automated voice that's.
Yeah, I just had to stream it on YouTube, so we're all set.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. I'd like to call this morning's meeting of the Economic Development Committee on October 5th, 8:15 to order. I'm going to take a roll call vote of those people in attendance, how I see them. Julie Connolly? Here. Matt Berger?
Here.
Alan Belinak?
Here.
Rob Anderson, chair, here. So we do have quorum. It's basically a very short and direct agenda. It has to do with the district downtown zoning bylaw and three of the key issues that I think we had mentioned at our previous meeting and that kind of stand between the town and a very good zoning bylaw. Julie, could you summarize? You did a very good job before summarizing all three of those issues. And then
Sure.
What I might like to do is take a motion on how we stand, what we'd like to do.
Sure. I'll be quick about this. So the first issue is the floor area ratio. We had gone back and forth for a while as to whether this was even the appropriate metric. Judy Barrett, our zoning consultant, said this is sort of an antiquated way of setting the metric and proposed just a general lot coverage area. Instead, that's been rejected by the planning board and the board of selectmen, who want to stick with the FAR. For many months, we were talking about a 0.35 FAR. And at the last meeting of the planning board 2 weeks ago, they lowered that to a 0.3, which was accepted to the planning board. My concern here is that, we're allowing a 3-story building potentially, which is, I believe, in line with our with the current regulations as well. And a 0.3 FAR would mean on a lot, if we were to put a 2-story building, the footprint of the building could only be 9% of that lot. It would make for an awkward looking building that wouldn't really be usable, I'm concerned, by any legitimate proponent of the use. So again, I think the other metrics, which are the setbacks, the height restrictions, the amount of green space that's required, along with the parking, actually do enough sufficiently on their own to squeeze the size of the building to make sure it's not too big. And that's how the zoning bylaw is now. Right now, it appears there is not a current metric. Karina, it's a little unclear, which is very weird to me, but Karina had shared a chart, and it's unclear what that chart was attached to. I wasn't able to find any reference to it online. And I think maybe it's out of date, but that allows for a 0.5 FAR downtown. So whether that's the current standard or whether there isn't a current standard, whatever of those scenarios is actually accurate, reducing it to a 0.3 is just a step too far. So, we did, I think, get comfortable-ish with a 0.35, although it wasn't our ideal. I'm happy in the spirit of compromise to go back to that. I cannot support a 0.3. The second issue was that was the issue of 40% restriction on residential for 40% of the building. More than 40% of the building cannot be residential in a mixed use without a special permit. To me, this really undermines the entire point of of what we came here to do when we first went to planning 2 years ago and said, hey, we really need mixed use residential. Could we make that happen? The reason we did that was because that was what was set forth in the master plan and on all the studies that have been done over the past 12 or so years that have indicated that mixed use is important. And obviously, mixed use can include office as well, but what we really think of as mixed use and what we want to encourage is a mix of residential and commercial. So if we're saying, even if we have a 2-story building, assuming the stories are, the same square footage or approximately the same square footage, if there's a restriction that not more than 40% can be used residential, then that completely undermines the spirit of the entire deal, because we couldn't even have a 2-story building, let alone a 3-story building, which is permitted and everyone agrees is permitted under the new proposed bylaw. we couldn't even have a 2-story building with residential on top and commercial on bottom. So that really, really undermines the whole heart of the deal. It seems to me like it was an intentional less than 50% to undercut the very purpose of our coming forward for the past 2 years and pushing this and spending all the time we have. The third point that we take issue with is the number of units allowed in a mixed use development. I believe back when we started, we had talked about 12. We reduced it to 8. Everyone seems set on 8. 8's been in the version for 8 months or more. Out of nowhere, the planning board reduced it from 8 to 3. And when Chairman Morris asked the board member, Mr. Mills, who was the one who proposed that, he said, "Where'd you come up with that number?" He said, "I counted on my hand, 1, 2, 3. There was very little other discussion about that. That's a huge decline, probably makes a project unviable. And again, undercuts the whole purpose of the deal. The other issue that was discussed a lot back when we started talking about this was, whether was the affordable housing component of it. If a unit's going to have 4 or more units, then one of them would have to be affordable. We all thought this was great, and we thought the planning board supported this too, which is again why we're concerned that they reduced it to 3 without any real discussion either from the planning board or the board of selectmen. So I think for these things, I just want to hear more at least about why these changes were made, because to me they seemed pretty arbitrary and to undercut all the things that we've been working towards and talking about since the beginning. It's very disappointing. It's very frustrating. We've done a lot of great work. We've had a lot of great collaboration. I'm okay with all the other issues that were made, all the other changes that were made, I think are fine. Most of them are very good and I support wholeheartedly, but these 3 are really stand out as problems.
No, Julie, that's a wonderful summary of it. And I think you've hit upon everything that, we had discussed previously and through the past 8 months to try to get the best zoning out there. I'm going to open it up to a discussion for our members here. And with a small group, I'm going to start with Matt. Do you have any comments, anything to add?
No, I agree with everything Julie said, and sort of I'm curious as to what seems like an arbitrary change that was made, and support the reversion to what we had originally discussed.
Alan?
I don't have anything substantial to add other than what Julie summarized and Matt echoed.
No, and I agree. Julie, you did a great job. And I do think that what we want to do, and what I'm hoping someone on the committee does, is make a motion to ask for those 3 things to be removed from the current zoning, so that we can kind of stand behind the zoning that we spent 2+ years working on, 8 drafts that were changed until last minute changes came up. So if I could maybe have a motion from the committee.
So moved.
Okay. Excellent. So any discussion on the motion?
No.
Seeing none, I do have a motion on the floor to remove the 40% restriction on the housing residential as part of the zoning, 2, to revert back to the 8 units and not the 3 for residential, and the third to revert the FAR from 0.3 to 0.35. So that's the motion I have on the floor. I'm going to take a roll call vote. Julie Connolly?
Yes.
Matt Berger?
Yes.
Ellen Belenak?
Yes.
Rob Anderson, yes. The motion carries unanimously. And because there's an 8:30 Zoom meeting, and because the only next thing on the agenda is adjournment, could I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, roll call vote. We have to do it. Alan?
Yes.
Matt?
Yes.
Julie?
Yes.
Rob, yes, we are adjourned. Thank you very much,
Thank you,
everyone,
everybody.
for making this quick.
See you
Thank
this
you.
evening,
Thank you.
Thanks, bye.
the record.